Welcome to Alaska Matters with Chris Story. To reach Chris, call 226-3933. 226-3933. Now, giving you something to talk about, here's Chris Story.
Life is so fragile. You know, 1 minute you're living as though there's no tomorrow, and then there may really be no tomorrow. Are you prepared for a week without power? What if you lost power for a week? And in Alaska, that's not far from true. I mean, that can happen without a superstorm like Sandy. You know, what if you lost, let's just say this. You lose power for 3 days. Would you have enough supplies in your house? Because presumably, if you've lost power, maybe your grocer has lost power. And as we've learned in the past, they don't check out without computers. What would you do? So this storm back in New York and New Jersey, well, all over the eastern seaboard, but specifically New York and New Jersey, what they're going through is really making me think again about what am I doing to be prepared, to follow my dad's creed, expect the best and be prepared for the worst. And I'm woefully behind. So Tiffany and I yesterday actually put together, we have a survival kit per se, but we don't have like a real go bag. We don't have everything we need. So it's really given us pause to just stop and think, what if we had to survive in our own domicile? If the governor of Alaska, the great state of Alaska, were to say to you and I, stay put, do not leave your house, do not go out on the roads, stay where you are for what could be 2, 3, 4 days, would we have enough? Would we have enough water? Do you even have enough water in your house right now? If the tap wouldn't open up, here's a great tip, is if you've got an electric hot water heater, you do have a reserve there. So, I mean, that's one aspect of having at least some water. Cash, this really hit me that you would want some cash on hand. And only you can decide and determine how much cash is enough for you. A guy like Dave Webb's probably going to need, a couple grand in cash. And Dave, I hope he at some point will tell us where he keeps it. But, you know, are you a high roller? Are you a low roller? But seriously, you might need something to bargain with, to get a hotel room. Again, credit cards, everything is computerized. And if something should happen, cash is a big deal. Tsunami warning the other day is another good example of why we need to be at the ready. Now, of course, it didn't impact us. It wasn't, even something we should have even been paying attention to as it turned out to be. But nevertheless, a survival kit is not complete without really thinking it through, and you've got to have that cash, the warm clothes for everybody, some dog food thrown in there. I mean, come on, you've got to remember Fido. And then, of course, coffee. No, I'm not kidding. I mean coffee. Are you want to see me in a looting mode? I will loot your house for coffee. If I run out of coffee, I'll bowl you over to get your cup of coffee, your bag of beans, your espresso, whatever it is you've got. So I say that no go bag, no survival kit is complete without at least a pound of Blackwater Bend espresso coffee beans. You've got to put that in your, maybe not even have it pre-ground. I mean, you might not have your grinder, but I don't care. If it came down to it, I'd be grinding into coffee somehow, some way. So, and you coffee drinkers, really, just stop and think for a minute. 3 days, no coffee. You would be mad. Your eyes would be like rolling into the back of your head. You don't want to see a world without coffee, I guarantee that. If I were writing a post-apocalyptic story, I think that coffee beans would be the currency of survivors. We'd be trading not in gold or, platinum or molybdenum or, anything. It would be coffee beans. I'll give you a bean for that car. I'd take it, too. You could have anything for coffee. All right, so you can go to Blackwater Bend for free. You don't need to be in an post-apocalyptic survival mode to go out to Blackwater Bend Espresso. And I want to send you there today for free. And remember, if you're one of our lucky winners, you can ask for, in lieu of a coffee card, ask for a pound of coffee. I'm guaranteeing you'll be glad you did, because you get to take it home with you. And every single day, you, like me, can be grinding your own Blackwater Bend beans. It's the way to go. Lieutenant Governor Meade Treadwell will be here in just a little bit talking to you about electronic voting. Did you know you can now vote via email here in the great state of Alaska? And actually some interesting facts I think we'll learn about faxing, which has been the order of the day for quite some time, and I did not know that. Also, I'll share with you a conversation I had this morning with a survivor of Sandy, former Homer resident, Joe Pfeil. Joe is back in Brooklyn, New York, and he's in the film industry back there, and he survived Sandy, so he'll be here to tell you all about that. So don't go anywhere. Much more to come right here on Alaska Matters. You know you need to wrap those expensive ornamental trees and shrubs. You just don't have the time or equipment. You're in luck. Danny and his team at Dutch Boy Landscaping are experts at tree wrapping.
I'm Bruce the Spruce, and I'm here to say, cover me up and keep the moose away.
Not wrapping, wrapping. You don't need to feed the moose with your high-dollar trees. Let Dutch Boy Landscaping protect your investment and improve your property value. You will love their low prices. I'm not kidding. Very, very affordable. Call Dutch Boy Landscaping today, 235-7140. That's 235-7140. Dutch Boy Landscaping, 235-7140.
Commit this number to memory, 399-1526. When you need snow removal, snow plowing, and sanding this winter, call Richard at 399-1526. Great Wire Construction, locally owned and lifelong Alaskan operated, can take care of all your snow plowing, snow removal, and sanding needs. If you'd like, Richard will deliver sand to your residence for your use when needed. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Great Wire Construction, 399-1526.
For Radio Realty, I'm Chris Story. You can save on your electric bill with these simple tips. Wrap your hot water heater in an insulation blanket. Turn down the heat to about 120 to 140, not below 120, or you can get bacteria in your tank. Drain your hot water heater to clear it of sediment. This will increase efficiency. Low-flow fixtures use less hot water, like shower heads, toilets, and faucets. Insulate your hot water pipes wherever you can. Catch Radio Realty every Wednesday at 12:30 on KPEN 102 FM. I'm Chris Story. You're listening to Alaska Matters. Remember, Alaska matters, and so do you. Along with me is Mr. Dave Webb, engineering and producing this program back up at the mothership of KGTL. We like to call it K-Gentle. But don't be gentle with Levi Johnston. Did you hear he's getting married or got married again? Again, he got married. I don't think he ever married Bristol. But proving P.T. Barnum's point, there really is a sucker born every minute. Inside Edition reports that Levi was sweating profusely during the nuptials in Wasilla on Sunday. His very sweet-looking bride is a preschool teacher and the mother of his little girl, Breezy Beretta. Let that sink in. Breezy Beretta, as in the Italian gunmaker, Beretta. Levi told Inside Edition that he is happy with his life as an electrician and no longer wants to be or live the Hollywood lifestyle that he pursued following the vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin's shot at the VP hood there. He says, that's just not who I am, he told Inside Edition at his wedding. Liar! Levi craves the spotlight. Come on, Inside Edition's at your wedding, dude. Of course you crave the spotlight. I wouldn't be reading this story if you didn't crave the spotlight, you narcissistic twit. Man, what are you talking about? I've never seen anybody that's more craving the spotlight than Levi Johnston. Give me a break. Isn't that the guy who posed for Playgirl? You crave the spotlight. There, I had to get that off my chest. And no, I'm not just bitter because Playgirls never come to me. The answer is no. Blackwater Bend Espresso is this half-hour sponsor here. Alaskan Mindbender, your opportunity to go to Blackwater Bend for free. And as I mentioned earlier, you're welcome to exchange your coffee card winnings for beans. And you can take them home and prepare for the worst. Throw them in your to-go bag. I don't think you will. I would rotate them through anyway. You know, you'd want to get the fresh ground beans and go that route and keep them fresh, sort of like backstock at a grocery store. You keep it rotated. You don't want old coffee beans when it comes to survival. Okay, so here's your question. The number to call, 226-3933. Just get ready, 226-3933. 226-3933. Here's your question. Which state has the lowest tax burden in the United States of America? Not 57. We're going to just count the 50 states. Which state has the lowest tax burden in America? Is it A, Alaska, B, South Dakota, or C, Tennessee? Call Story Real Estate right now. Tiffany is standing by. See, one line is taken, but we've got 6 more. 226-3933. Just tell Tiffany what you think the answer is, A, B, or C, Alaska, South Dakota, or Tennessee. Call right now. I'd like to welcome to the program Lieutenant Governor Meade Treadwell. Describe exactly what is available now to Alaskan voters as it pertains to electronic voting and fax voting. So I believe that this is something new, and I've got my own reservations, but I'd love to hear about what this is and how it came about.
Sure thing. The first thing I should say is that Alaskans have been able to vote, send in their absentee ballots by fax since the 1990s. And so we've been doing that for some time. But if you haven't noticed, the fax machine in my house isn't even hooked up anymore. And
right.
More and more people are sending things by either scanning them and emailing them or just doing them online. 2 years ago, when I was elected lieutenant governor, the mother of a soldier in Afghanistan tackled me and said, my son was in a forward operating base. He couldn't find a fax machine to send back his ballot. So he scanned it, sent it to the base in Italy where somebody downloaded it, printed it out, and then faxed it to us in Juneau. And we looked at the technology, we looked at the regulations, and we chose a technology that allows you to send in your ballot scanned as a PDF. It still has to be printed out. The cover sheet still needs to be signed. We've got lots of safeguards in the process so that we make sure we only get one ballot at a time, and there's safeguards to protect the privacy. There's safeguards to protect the vote from being intercepted and changed, a number of things like that. But it does take advantage of the way that people send documents around these days, and allows us to go ahead with electronic voting. It's not like the way you pay your credit card online, and it's not like the way you might cast your vote on American Idol or something like that. It's just a simple but safe way to deliver your absentee ballot to you and for us to get it back.
And so since the early 90s, we've had the ability to fax in, but those are, just so I have this straight in my head, faxing and or now with email technology available, all of those will be counted as absentee or early voting, which are counted after the actual day of the election. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so nothing's changing. In other words, if people are listening and saying, well, this is just a lot more convenient, I don't need to go out to the polls anymore, I can do this from my house, just know that that's not going to be counted that day.
Right. Know that it won't be counted that day. Know that we have it so that we can compare your signature with the signature that we have on file. Know that there's a greater chance of being rejected for one reason or another if the numbers don't match up or that sort of thing. But we did want to offer people that convenience. And I'll tell you, our position on all of the new electronic capabilities are that we want elections that can be auditable. We have elections sometimes that are very, very close, decided by one vote. Or, in one case, there's a legislator sitting in Juneau now who got his seat because of a coin toss after a tie, Bryce Edson. And so the point here is that we want to be able to receive the file, print it out, and put it into the stream of ballots, just like paper ballots we would have gotten over the fax or over the mail. And so we're not going to have to hire poll watchers like, characters from the Matrix to go inside the computer to make sure it all worked out right. You're using this company and the safeguards. And if we get any indication it won't work, we won't continue with it. But right now, we think we believe it's a safe way to move forward with the way people send documents around today.
Yeah, the Internet is becoming more and more secure. There's no doubt about it. And as you mentioned, electronic banking and paying bills, people are doing a great deal of things on the Internet. So it does make sense that this inevitably is coming about. One concern I've got, and I think maybe you've already answered it, is that it will be verified by signature. So that there's one huge safeguard. But does this mean that you have a whole new set of staffing issues or computer servers and so forth? What kind of overall expense are you looking at to accommodate this, or is it actually pretty simple?
Well, we did spend some money on it. It was low six figures. I can't tell you the exact amount right now. That was a competitive bid. But the company that did it is it's called Skytle, and they've been doing this in a number of other jurisdictions. We felt comfortable with their track record, and it does mean that the emails go into a dedicated server, as I understand it, and that they go in or they're uploaded in a certain way that it's encrypted so that you can't intercept it. A hacker can't intercept it in the meantime and change the way you voted.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, you know what I really like about this, Lieutenant Governor, is that I think at the outset also you mentioning that our armed servicemen and women that are in harm's way that want to cast their ballots and follow their constitutional rights, which they're defending and upholding, are now going to be more able to do that. What's your anticipation, or what is your office anticipating relative to the number of Alaskans that will actually be either early voting or maybe using this new electronic means?
Well, it's possible we may get up to 20, 25, 30% early voters ultimately, of people who show up at City Hall ahead of time to vote, or people who do absentees through the mail or through this process. In the presidential election 4 years ago, we had about 2,000 people who voted by fax. Today, over 1,000 people have asked to use this email service. Well, we announced that last week. Now, most of those people were people who had sent that notice to overseas, people who are overseas voters or military voters. And I'll tell you this. We met with the Pentagon people last winter who kind of coordinate voting for soldiers all over the world. And, they said to us, and they encouraged this sort of thing, because they said, if there's a helicopter going to a ship, or if there's a mail call going to a forward operating base, bullets are going to go first, and the food is going to go first, and ballots are going to go after that. And so if you want to make sure that people vote on time, having an electronic way to vote would help. And so we're trying to help the soldier.
All right. That's commendable, and I feel a lot more secure. I really went into this conversation with grave reservations, and you allayed my concerns, which I sort of predicted.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Chris, and we're going to keep watching to make sure it works out okay. And if people hear any problems, let us know. We're just trying to do the best we can for Alaskans.
All right. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your service. It's an honor to speak with you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. And don't you go anywhere. We'll be back with the answer to our Blackwater Bend, Alaska Mindbender question, along with Joe Pfeil right here on Alaska Matters.
Talk about wow factor. Deborah Lysick at Bay Realty in Homer has a great new listing. It's an immaculate property inside and out. I mean a spotless top-to-bottom reconstructed home with ocean views forever. Cozy guest cabin, a lush green lawn, major greenhouse, gardens, two-car garage, boathouse, shed, sauna, plus what might be the world's finest fish cleaning setup. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath home on almost 5 acres on Katrina Boulevard in Iliamna Meadows subdivision. And it's just like being in your very own personal nature retreat. To get a showing of this spectacular listing, call Deborah Lysick at Bay Realty in Homer at 235-6183. That's 235-6183. Or check what Bay Realty has to offer online at bayrealtyalaska.com. Call Deborah Lysick today at 235-6183. And remember, when you need results, Bay Realty works.
What's the first thing you turn to in the Homer News? Come on, you can tell me. Is it the police blotter that catches you first? Or how about that crazy cartoon? Or do you go straight for the letters to the editor to see what your wacky neighbors are up to? Well, the good news is there's no wrong answer. The Homer News can be consumed any way you like it, even online. HomerNews.com is updated daily. So this Thursday, whether you're alone or with somebody, get your copy of the Homer News and dive right in.
And I'm Christopher Story along with Dave Webb. Tiffany Story taking your calls here at Story Real Estate. There's still an opportunity for you to get in here and win. We've got 2 Blackwater Bend Mindbender coffee cards waiting for you. We've had a few calls that were not right, and I'm surprised. So let me repeat the question and give you the phone number again. Here's the question. Which state has the lowest, just informed we do have one winner. So we had one person who was right and then a few people that were wrong. So here we go one more time. The number, 226-3933, 226-3933. Here's the question. Which state has the lowest tax burden in the United States of America, which we still are, the United States of America? Is it Alaska with the lowest tax burden, South Dakota, or Tennessee? Call 226-3933. One winner left. Well, you're all winners. If you're listening to the show, you're already a winner. I think you know that. But it's interesting. So we'll get into that in a minute. I want to give you a chance. I see the phone lines are lighting up. So we'll give you an opportunity to weigh in on that while I introduce you to Joe Pfeil. I spoke with Joe Pfeil this morning, very early Alaska time, mid-morning New York City time, East Coast time. And Joe grew up here in Homer, Alaska. If you know the Pfeil family, Fred and Becky Pfeil, you know Joe. And so he's back east, and he's in the movie-making industry, and he's doing all kinds of cool stuff. Great guy to follow up with, but I did have a chance to talk to him. So I would just want to share with you a little bit of our conversation about what the storm was like, Storm Sandy was like for Joe Pfeil. So here we go. Check it out.
Cell phones aren't exactly working everywhere in New York.
No kidding. Well, I'm shocked that I got you at all. So you were describing a congenial environment, almost party-like atmosphere with people, at least in Brunswick, Brooklyn, where you are. But so talking about Manhattan, you're about a mile away from there. What's your perception of the actual amount of damage?
Pretty catastrophic. I've been doing nothing but looking at the news and videos and statistics, and there are numbers around $14 billion of damage between the 5 boroughs of New York. And it's not the crazy winds ripping buildings apart that is that damage. It's the flooding.
Right.
Subway lines filling up with water, and every piece of electronic wiring and electrical components that get salt water on them have to be inspected and or replaced.
Right. I mean, it's astronomical to think about the complexity of getting to all that stuff, let alone fixing it. But where you are, what is transit like where you are? Is there any public transit right now, or are people just on foot?
No. The entire MTA, Metro Transit Authority system of New York, is on hold until they feel like they can even look at the problems and then deal with the problems. So the whole city is frozen until at least Tuesday, Wednesday. So nobody's working, nobody's going anywhere. It's going to be, for us, I mean, we're lucky over here. I have a whole neighborhood of friends, and we're going to come together and play music, shoot movies, play board games. I mean, we have stuff to do, but people in Manhattan, from, I think I heard 40th Street South, they have 0 power and no cell phone service.
Wow. Being from Alaska, Joe, do you think that prepared you for this type of event more? Were you more readily able to, mentally cope with this or deal with it, having the experience of being in an isolated place like Homer, Alaska, most of your life?
That's kind of the funny part, is a lot of my friends came over to my place kind of anticipating that I'd have flashlights and water and batteries. And every day building up to the storm, I armed myself with every tool that I could possibly need, which actually isn't that much, hoping that we would actually get to camp out in the streets and fight our way back to civilization. But it turned out to be that we're in this little utopia a mile away from just incredible flooding. So
yeah, you were expecting something a little more epic.
Terrible, but I had a lot of friends who, during storms, people have a group mentality where a lot of anxiety is amplified between people, and certain people don't deal with it so well. But it's not the first hurricane. I lived in Orlando and got a couple really good ones down there.
Well, talk about what's on the streets there, because you're away from the epicenter of the flooding, but surely you're seeing damage and wind-blown debris and so forth. What do you see when you leave your apartment and go out on the streets?
Well, I'm looking out right now, and besides people in pajamas walking around with wide eyes staring up, lots of siding just ripped off and all around the street. Garbage strewn about, tree limbs pulled all over the place. Just a lot of little stuff. Nothing like the videos that I've seen from friends over in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, where there's 4 feet covering cars. I mean, it's just incredible.
Well, we're certainly glad that you are safe, and please keep us posted back here in Alaska. We want to hear about what's happening, and really appreciate your time, and stay safe out there, Joe.
Yeah, sure thing, Chris.
Just amazing to think that the level of devastation. And, you know, people knew it was coming, like you just heard Joe talking about for a good week or so up to the storm, getting ready, gearing up, getting the tools that he thought he needed. But in the end, when you're faced with that kind of density, with 18 million people on Manhattan alone, it's just, I don't know that you can plan enough other than just get out of there. I have a friend that's trying to get to New York right now. Sent her a text last night, and Tiff and I were talking like, surely she's still not planning to go. Well, as of last night, she was still trying to make arrangements. So I guess there's going to be 18 million and one back there. Everyone's trying to get out, and she's trying to go in. Nuts. Okay, in a recent Wall Street Journal report, which state has the lowest tax burden? Alaska. You knew that. Of course, you just inherently know that. Judith and Eric, you're our winners. You'll be going to Blackwater Bend for free. Go out there and claim your prize. It's a coffee card. I would still encourage you to, hang on, there's a message from Tiffany. I'd still encourage you to think about maybe going out there and getting a bag of beans. You won't regret it. You won't regret it. Tiffany said that she is sorry to the callers that she did not get to. Well, we just had an influx. There's only one call screener and 7 lines. You can imagine what her job is like. It's a tough one. Tiffany, way to go. I might even take you for a coffee this afternoon at Blackwater Bend. So here's how it breaks down. I thought this was really interesting. Let's look at taxes paid by residents in Alaska as a percent of your income. As a percent of your income, 7.0%. That is your tax burden, 7% in the state of Alaska. The total state and local taxes collected were $6.17 billion. Now, what percentage? This could have been another question. Dave, let's see if you know this. You're a member of the media, a powerful member of the media. What percentage of those tax dollars paid, $6.17 billion went into the state coffers, what percentage were paid by residents versus, say, oil corporations?
Oh, maybe 25%.
Oh, come on. Did you know that? It's 24.5.
Really?
It is. You're good. 24.5.
Oil companies pay a lot of taxes.
They pay almost all our taxes.
Yeah.
Without
nice
the oil
company. Good oil
thank
company.
you. Yeah, those big bad people. Big bad people. They pay for everything. If you're a school teacher, 3/4 of your salary paid by the oil companies. So let's drop down to South Dakota, which is the second lowest tax burden in the nation. They pay 7.6% of their total income. And, of course, it's a per capita thing. There's a lot more people there. But listen to this. Percentage of total taxes paid by the residents of South Dakota, 57% versus our 24.5%. That's huge, huge. Tennessee was the third down on the list of the least tax burden here at 7.7%. $18.24 billion collected in that state, 63% paid by the residents. I thought that was pretty fascinating. New York City, this might be changing. It might be going up. They're actually the highest tax burden, the state of New York. Taxes paid by residents as a percent of income, 12.8%. Total collected there in that state, $136 billion, second highest total gross number there, and 73% paid by the residents. 73%. That's to our 24.5%. All right, we might be touching base with a couple more people back in New York as time goes on. Next week, I don't think I'm stepping out of line here to say Mrs. America will be joining you next week. At least that's what I have on my calendar. I hope she's got that on her calendar, but we'll arrange that either which way soon. Homer's own Vicky Sarber is Mrs. America. She'll be on the program. And just one quick shout-out. Last week's guest was Fred Dickerson. And Fred is an awesome guy. He's an Alaskan filmmaker, and his movie is called Alaska Sessions. It will air and debut. You'll have an opportunity. The inaugural playing of that movie is Thursday night, 6 o'clock, at the Homer Theater. You can pick up your tickets in advance. In fact, I would go to the Homer bookstore, pick up those tickets, and go check out Fred's movie, Alaska Sessions. If you want to check out a little trailer, a little preview, as it were, of the movie, it's at alaskasessions.com. It's not just a surfing movie. Remember, Fred said that it would appeal to a lot more than just surfers. So anyway, check that out. Dave, are you thinking about going to that?
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Yeah, actually. I think Tiffany and I are definitely going to go if we can drag Zoe. Well, we don't have to drag her, but if we can drag her away from something else she was planning to do, we'll be all going there together. Tomorrow is Radio Realty. That's on 102.3 FM or 101.7, wherever comes in best for you. It'll be a terrific show. Rhonda Johnson will bring us our mortgage moment. We'll be giving away food from the Mermaid Cafe, just all kinds of great stuff. And be sure to get don't let this snow lull you into a winter's nap. Be prepared. Be prepared. Expect the best and prepare for the worst because, man, I'm telling you, the other day, Tiffany and I were walking the beach, did not have jumper cables. Got back into our car, battery was dead, didn't have jumper cables, asked another person, they didn't have jumper cables. Finally, a crab fisherman who was on a lunch break from his boat came over and had big old 20-foot pair of jumper cables. So go out there, Alaska matters, and so do you.
The Peninsula's home for unforgettable favorites. Great listening, 620 AM, KGTL, Homer.